procure your necessary muffin repository by visiting us at utilitymuffinlabs.com, on Facebook at Utility Muffin Labs, on Twitter at 25 Years of VTM or Utility Muffins, all one word, on Instagram at Utility Muffin Labs, one word. Support the labs on Patreon at patreon.com/25 Years of Vampire the Masquerade, and finally, adorn your human form with our t-shirts at tpublic.com/users/Utility Muffin Labs. Utility Muffin Labs, think homogenous. You are now listening to the NerdWords podcast, brought to you by utilitymuffinlabs.com. If you know your party's extension, please dial it now. Press 1 for customer service. Press 2 for podcasts. Press 3 to check on an order. Press 4.
Welcome to another episode of the NerdWords podcast. I am a Nathan.
And I am a Bob.
And we are joined by Jeff, and he is right there. You can't see him.
Hello, the world of the muffins.
I am pointing at him because I can see him because I'm using technology, and it's crazy.
Technology.
Yeah, so today we're going to do something that we haven't done in a while, and that's talk about a movie that we've all seen. So before you get involved in this podcast and you go, man, I really want to hear Bob and Nate talk about some vampire or some gaming stuff. No, we are doing a podcast review of the Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War. And we're going to do it spoiler rich because we haven't talked about it at all. I just saw it last night. So spoiler alert, we're not going to... we're going to include every kind of conceivable spoiler, and you will have the movie ruined if you listen to this podcast. So we want you to listen to it, but also
it's much advised to see the movie first and then listen to this.
Right. So
I agree.
You saw it, Jeff?
I did see it. I saw it the day after it came out, actually.
You fucking rubbing it in.
Phenomenal.
Fucking rubbing it in, guy.
It is. I loved the movie, actually. Everybody's talk that I did hear was that it ties all the others in nicely. It did just that.
Yeah.
And that is why Disney will rule forever.
Yeah, basically.
Right with Marvel.
Basically, they're that's what's going to happen. So here's my question for you guys. How did you see it? Did you see it like normal? Did you see it in like 3D?
Man, I saw it normal because with my vision, 3D doesn't do shit.
Right.
It just gives me a headache.
We saw it in 3D, actually.
What did you think about the 3D?
As far as 3D goes, it didn't have the most 3D effects. I guess the most in the movie when it came to the effects was probably when they were on the planet fighting Thanos. Not on Earth, but the planet that he was chilling on.
Planet Titan.
Yes, Planet Titan. And there was a lot there because there was so much debris flying around in that scene.
Right.
So, but other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of 3D effects.
Yeah. So we saw Thor, Ragnarok in 3D. I saw it with Bob in 3D, and I had not ever seen a 3D movie prior to that. And I have to say, my opinion about 3D is it is a waste of your money. It makes things look darker and smaller, and I'm not impressed by it, right? So that's just my opinion about 3D, generally speaking. I didn't see it in 3D. We went and we saw it in IMAX, and holy balls, was IMAX crazy. Like, I don't think I'd ever been to an IMAX theater before, and I'm sure like most people are like, yeah, IMAX, big fucking deal. It was a big deal for me. It's a huge screen, and I could literally see everything, and it's like, IMAX is one of those things where you can sit anywhere in the theater and basically you have a great view, unlike a traditional like flat theater screen. And also the audio is ridiculous. So that was all awesome. And I like how this movie, it starts out, it doesn't have any preamble. It's not like, and this is what happened leading up to this. It's not telling you like, hey, let's give you a recap. It starts basically right where Thor Ragnarok, like it starts right after everyone gets fucked up at the end of Thor Ragnarok, right?
Which needs to.
Right. It starts immediately into action.
And I just want to point out that the best villains I've seen in any superhero film were in this film.
Right.
I enjoyed them immensely. His just the dogma that was spewed out of his right hand man as they were just
That guy
murdering
was
people.
Awesome.
It was a great character, and I gotta tell you, I am not a Spider-Man fan. I've been on record. I do not like Spider-Man, and fuck Hank Pym. We've heard me say this.
Right.
We understand that.
Not movie Hank Pym, comic Hank Pym.
Yeah.
I like, and that's correct. I would dare say love Marvel Spider-Man in this movie. It's I saw the other Spider-Man film with him in it. It was the Spider-Man that got me to crack the comic book to try a little bit, and in this movie, it just reinforced that love.
Right.
And it's a strong word I use because in this movie, I feel Spider-Man is epic.
So let's take a little time here real quick and just mention Thanos' lieutenants. Ebony Maw, Cull Obsidian, Proxima Midnight, and Corvus Glaive. And I believe who you were talking about was Cull Obsidian. I could be wrong, but the one that was talking, the one that it's kind of like it's almost like he's the preacher of Thanos' arrival, right?
He is literally the Paul Heyman. That's not Paul Heyman. Who's the guy? Who's the dude who came out holding the urn for the Undertaker?
Paul Bearer.
Paul Bearer.
Yeah, Paul Bearer of the Undertaker, which is Thanos. That's exactly what it reminded me of.
Right.
Well, Paul Heyman of Brock Lesnar, that works too.
Right, that works, but it's the same thing. Like it was a promo for Thanos.
A very cool character. And these are characters that we haven't been introduced to previously, but we're introduced to them immediately. Right? It's like we tune into your episode already in progress, right? And so it's just motherfuckers on a spaceship, just carnage and destruction, right? And Thanos is there for the Infinity Gem that we know because we watched Thor Ragnarok. We know that Loki took. And so Loki, ever trying to be the opportunistic individual, I think a lot of, like me, I was like, oh, he's going to try to he's just going to like fall in line with Thanos. And Thanos is like, nah, I ain't having your bullshit. Give it up. And then he fucking smokes him, right? That's the first thing that happens in this movie. That's how you know this movie is going to be a lot different than the movies you've experienced before, because Loki is killed right off the bat. And it ain't like, ooh, maybe he'll come back mysteriously. No, it's like he murdered Loki, right?
He absolutely murdered Loki. It's didn't he choke him to death?
He broke his neck with basically one hand while choking him after he got the Infinity Stone, because you heard the snap. That shit was audible. It echoed through the theater. It was awesome.
Well, the other thing too that we see, because I don't think that size was really, I don't think size was properly shown in the previous films. Like we know Thanos is like a big guy, but he's like the size of the Hulk. Like he's huge. He's a massive alien creature, and so are all of his henchmen. They're all massive. They come from a planet called Titan, right? So they're huge.
Thanos is my favorite ultimate bad guy of any comic ever. Always has been. Right. Testament of my friends knowing this.
And I'm going to throw this out there.
Yeah.
Any of his 4 lieutenants that were in the movie could have easily been their own standalone villain in their own right, especially his preacher.
Right.
They were that bad at it.
What we realize right off the bat is power level wise, we're dealing with individuals that are well beyond the standard sort of power level that we're used to in these movies, right? We're used to kind of like the Avengers getting down and kind of like, yeah, they're struggling to fight whatever these monsters or robots or aliens are. But here there's Gesundheit.
Sorry, I tried to
no, it's okay. Let it all out. So but here there's these 4 individuals, and oh yeah. So let's not deviate from what we're talking about. We're talking about Loki gets killed, Heimdall gets killed, the Hulk gets the shit kicked out of him, and before Heimdall dies, shoots him back to planet Earth with the Bifrost. Right. So the ship that everyone escaped on for the happy ending at the end of Ragnarok is dead. Just kaput. Interestingly enough, though, Thor doesn't die, and I'm actually not convinced at this point Thor can die. Like, how do you kill Thor?
It would take something probably as cataclysmic as is going to take to actually kill Thanos.
Right.
I mean, he's a god, right? So
yeah, we thought Loki was too. So did he.
But Loki's never truly dead. I mean, yes, you heard his neck snap and everything, but Loki's awesome. There's got to be some way he's getting out of it, and he's going to play a part in the next movie.
He's the Doctor Doom of the Avengers.
Okay, so hinging on that, let's get through. So Hulk ends up back on planet Earth, and he's back as Bruce Banner, and he's having some Hulk issues. And we're chit chatting with Iron Man, and he's like being his old Iron Man-y self. And then fucking Doctor Strange, who I didn't know I was going to enjoy so immensely until he interacted with Iron Man, and he's just like a complete asshole, and
totally
like a total foil to Iron Man. Awesome. Like the Doctor Strange movie I enjoyed, but I've enjoyed Doctor Strange more as this like badass magician who shows up in other movies.
And I don't know. I like Doctor Strange a lot because he shuts down Iron Man all the time.
Yeah.
He's like the antithesis of Iron Man. Iron Man's a snarky prick. So is Doctor Strange, but Doctor Strange and him together, they like shut each other down left and right. It's great.
He's like the guy that had the special responsibility that he just took very, very seriously.
In memory. Well, don't they at that point they get to talking about the time stone that Doctor Strange has?
Right. We get some information. They tell us about the Infinity Gems and what they are. And
because Banner lands to Earth. That's what happened.
Right.
And when Banner lands on Earth, he can't change into the Hulk, and we find out the Hulk's a big baby. he's pissed off, right? He's just like, "Fuck you! I'm mad," and he's mad. For the only reason I can even think that Hulk is mad, he's never lost a fight.
Right.
Or he's never lost a fight.
I mad or scared, one of the two, because Thanos essentially beats the snot out of him. Like, Thanos don't give a fuck about no Hulk.
It's not fear. It's not fear. If you think about it, anybody Brock Lesnar, when he lost the fight, was like a baby. You know what I mean? He went back and trained hard, but he was shitty in interviews. He didn't want to talk to anybody. And it took him a while to train better and come back, but ultra competitive, but like not a whole lot going on in forgiveness and understanding that maybe, just maybe, things can beat him.
Yeah.
And I honestly took it as that, but I also think there's a lot more going on. Even Banner said it, right? It's like we're gonna figure out what the fuck's wrong with you later on. But you have never ever seen the Hulk treated as like somebody they had to help emotionally.
Right.
And they had brought that out in the film. I found that adorable.
Right. So anyways, they get back and they're chatting and they're in the Sanctum Sanctorum, and they start to hear something very strange going on outside. And then before you know it, we've got a fucking alien spaceship on the ground, and they're like, hey, we've come for, I'm paraphrasing here, obviously. It's much better in the movie, but your lives are all meaningless, and you're very lucky to be able to give your lives to the benefit of the great Thanos. And so we're here for the 2 stones that are on the Earth. And, Iron Man's like, hey, bitch, like, get out of here. And anyways, the assembled heroes get to fighting. Big knockdown, drag out, like another, like, so what's happening at this point? Like, I don't want to go, beat by beat in the story here, but
good. I was hoping. I was like, we don't have that time,
right? But we don't, because it's a 2.5 hour long movie. But we start to see the introduction of all of these superheroes. Spider-Man comes. We get the Iron Spider, the Iron Suit. We get all that. And what we start to see here is that there are people that are going to die in this movie. There are people that you're like, I didn't anticipate them dying, right? And there
were a lot of them.
Right. There's a lot of things, like we've been pulling for a decade to this point, right? These are characters now we're all completely established with. These are all characters
invested in.
Right. We're invested in them in their own individual movies, and now we get to see what happens when the Guardians of the Galaxy encounter Thor. We get to see what happens when these heroes can't necessarily win. They can't necessarily beat who's trying to take from them. And we also get to see how they've evolved, right? We get to see how that they've changed, like we do. We as people, we change as life events happen, as crisis occurs. But what I feel like I'm watching while I'm watching this movie play out is I feel like for the first time I'm watching the Thanos movie. I don't feel like I'm necessarily watching a movie about all these heroes. I feel like I'm watching kind of a dark, sort of twisted, but someone I kind of can identify with, like, in a really weird way. Like, I'm watching this movie and it's his movie, and I'm seeing tragedy unfold, but I'm also seeing the development of this villain.
And it's cool. It's really cool that you get to see that, because the development is like everything in a film, right?
Right.
Well, I got to put it that way. I've been in a debate with a comic book nerd.
Yeah.
As it said, I myself am one. We all know Thanos isn't lovable.
No, not at all.
That's not the point of Thanos. It's not the point for you to identify with him and like him.
No.
Right?
Yeah, it's an emotional identification. He's
got to be the villain. But at the same time, what are you identifying with, though, Nate? That's my curiosity before I say why I do.
Well,
what about Thanos were you like, I get it?
I think that it was interesting that they wrote the character with emotions, right? Like, he's not just the cold, callous evil that you would come to anticipate from a comic book movie. When you write your villain and you create your villain, and your villain feels emotion because they have to sacrifice something. Like, we've all been in a position where we had to sacrifice something to get something that we wanted more, or to get something that would be better for everyone from our perceptions or what have you. So I feel like they made a character that it's not just a one-dimensional villain. And that's what I appreciate about this. And when I say, like, I kind of felt like I was watching the Thanos movie, like, that's what I mean. Like, I'm watching this villain unfold in 3 dimensions and not just one. But also, I really, really geeked out because Red Skull was back.
Yeah, for about 5 minutes.
Right. I was like, holy shit, like, everybody's here. They got everybody.
Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that they kind of, because they made him more of a 3-dimensional character as opposed to just the villain, they very much kind of humanized him. Like, he explained, like, his whole drive is the fact that his people, they overpopulated and killed the planet, basically. And to stop that from happening to the entire universe, his master plan, he's just going to cut every race in half randomly. Like, there's no selection, just you're either on one half or you're on the other. And that's going to save the universe from basically snuffing itself out. Right. So between that, his finally shown actual, like, love for Gamora, and then having to do what he did, throwing her off that cliff to get that the Soul Stone. I mean, that was crazy. He was crying because it's the only thing in the universe that he truly did love. It was crazy. It's crazy.
They did something I didn't anticipate, and that is giving him a heart for something. Thanos' character never, and I mean never, ever loved like that. That wasn't him. There was only one being he loved, and that was death.
Right.
And that's what it was in the comic. And it does break my heart they did that. But quickly, I got behind why they did it.
Right.
It's a movie that you're trying to get everybody involved with.
Right.
And honestly, let's admit, Thanos, the super titan, it's the guy who is a cosmic being. Maybe not on the scale of Galactus, but we'll say he don't sweat Galactus. Does that make sense? That was like the effect they try to give you in the comic, and that's why he's able to get these stones even.
Right.
Because they don't address that. Like, I'm going to state that as great as this movie is, they really don't give you a clue as to why he's able. I mean, he even says, my planet was shit and got rocked towards itself apart in war.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what planet are you on where Hulk is a workout?
Yeah, no shit, right?
You know what I mean? How the hell are we the mightiest in the galaxy as the Avengers and we're not?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
and that's the effect. And it's like, oh, okay.
I look at it in the same way that, like, when a baseball team wins the World Series, right? Like, it's the World Series, but it's just America, right? Maybe a little bit of Canada. It's the same thing. The Avengers are the mightiest heroes in the galaxy, but like mostly it's just Earth, right? Like
Mostly it's just
right.
there.
I mean, they could handle like a really solid, large like insurrection, or like a robot that comes to life and tries to fly away with a continent. Like they could do that stuff, right? That's like but are they really going to be able to handle the Attack on Titan? I don't know.
Attack. I like how you put that. Actually,
Right.
It's it's a very good point. But like the Thanos that we know about, right? And this is the point I was hammered home.
Right.
That was the big one, right? He didn't have the same seemable motivation, and he said half of
Right.
everyone in the galaxy, and it was because of a reason of overpopulation. And I found it to be a very smart throw-in, not even tongue in cheek, of what is going on in the world at large.
Right.
The big worry is that we're exponentially growing population wise. We're not, if we don't do something, we're not going to have enough food. And they did to the extreme, granted, but that's where the argument is and the concern is. And to put that in the film with such a dramatic solution.
So do you think we're gonna do you think we're gonna so? I'm sorry, I'm all scatterbrained here, but what was the motivation of Thanos in the Infinity comic books, in the Infinity Stones crossover?
The thing is that they really don't explain why he was doing what he was doing.
Because I think
and not so clear. Like you had to know.
Wasn't he like in love with death?
Yes.
And so like he was trying to like impress her, and so that's why he was doing it.
But in the Infinity comic, they didn't necessarily come out and say that, right? The Infinity Wars was more addressed from the hero standpoint,
right?
Right. It had nothing really to do with Thanos,
right?
I mean, obviously it had something to do with Thanos, but it wasn't a focus on Thanos like that. Thanos was the dude who was coming in and whooping everybody's asses and killing heroes,
right?
Is what he was doing, and that's what drew everybody to the comic. Oh my God! Like who's going to take him down? You found out, and this is years ago, like decades ago. I can't believe I had to say that, but I'm reading that and I stumble across a death,
right?
A comic that had her in it with Thanos, and I was drawn by Thanos' weird artwork,
right?
By comparison to everybody else's, and it talked about it, and then he loved death, and I've never heard of Marvel putting anything about death anywhere. Death happened, but I was like, that doesn't happen in comics, and that drew me to it. And I remember seeing it, but then it wasn't much beyond that comic where it was like, he does this for her. And then it gets into everything else. And it may have been like, because they kind of fragmented, right?
Right.
You didn't have a neat Infinity War book like they ended up doing. It was like throughout different hero comics.
You can get it now in the trade paperbacks, which I think were published in 2011. So anyways, we may have to get out there and get us some Infinity Gauntlet comics and the Infinity Wars. But there's a couple of things that... So what we can say is this takes great inspiration from those stories, right? It's the same basic principle. Back in the day, Infinity Gauntlet, bunch of heroes gone in one fell swoop. Just, totally gone. This one's a little bit different because there are some key characters that aren't here, right? Like Warlock isn't here. The Silver Surfer isn't here. So this one plays out very much different from the original, but it's the same story, right? It's like an alternate Earth. But what can we establish right away? Same theme. People are going to die, right? And so some of those people are going to die, and they're not going to come back to this universe, to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But we can't say now, can we?
I had to show you something.
What?
Please continue. I'm showing this to you. I can explain this now, but finish your point.
No, I was just saying that we're not going to be able to determine who is permanently gone. Is Gamora permanently dead? Is Gamora going to come back? Is Scarlet Witch, is she permanently dead? Is she going to come back? We don't know. And that's the thing. Like, this is one of those situations where the next movie is probably going to have all of the remaining characters, your Iron Man and your Captain America and your core group of Avengers. Spider-Man's gone. Who's gone? Spider-Man's gone.
Spider-Man dropped. You had Star-Lord.
Yeah,
got
the entire universe, Guardians of the Galaxy character, except for
Rocket Raccoon.
Except for Rocket. So
and actually, the last thing Groot said before he disappeared when he said "I am Groot" and was looking at what's his nuts. The director came out and said he called Rocket Raccoon Dad, and that's why Rocket Raccoon lost his shit.
I didn't catch that.
And I can't believe I did. That it was very emotional to watch that shit happen.
Oh yeah,
It was.
There was two freak out moments. Black Panther died. I was uneasy in my seat when that occurred, and I swear to God, when Steve Rogers came up on screen, I swear to you, I was about to walk out. I was like, "You fucking take Captain America!" I swear to you. And nope. I was like, "Okay."
And the fucked up part about the Black Panther one was he died right after he reached down for the I forgot his main general, her name, but he reached out and he's like, "We're not dying on this battlefield today," and then he began to basically crumble into ash or dust or whatever, basically be unmade, unweaved, I guess you could say. And that was like, holy fuck. Like that was impactful.
Yeah. Yeah, so we don't know who's gone. Now, what we do know is that there's a lot of people that are gone right now that have been unwoven from reality who they'll be back. Like that much we can assure you. This is a comic book movie, right? And for a lot of people out there who aren't comic book fans, maybe you don't know. No one that's dead will stay dead. So, some point in time, these characters will come back, right? Like we know Black Panther, they don't just make a Black Panther movie that's ridiculous, it's blown up, everybody loves it, and then immediately kill off the character, right?
Well, you got to look at it this way too. They killed off most of the Guardians of the Galaxy. There's another Guardians of the Galaxy movie supposed to come out.
Yeah, but
so clearly they're not going to stay dead either.
However, we do know that some of these characters are going to get replaced.
That is true.
Some of these people are not going to come back. Like that much I can tell you with certainty, right? Like I'm not an insider. No one's told me, but like I know comic books and I know actors have contracts and some of them want to go off and do other things. This is that point, right? Where they can go, it's time to renegotiate. It's time to decide if you're going to come back. And I'm sure all these decisions have already been made. And I'm sure people listening probably know way more than we do. But what we can say is we know for certain some of these characters aren't going to come back. Not in the way that they are now.
Well, you can even look at it like this too. With the deal that Disney is brokering with, I believe it's Fox, getting the Fantastic Four back, getting
you're not going to
getting the X-Men back. They're going to start incorporating them after, obviously in years still,
right?
But after Infinity Wars 2, which is the end of most people's contracts,
right?
So they're going to have a whole different focus they're going to be able to shift to. So some of these people after Infinity Wars, other than being mentioned, may never be touched on again as far as movies go.
Right. Right. Well, but like, again, we're talking, and Bob, you kind of like were pointing your finger about Black Panther. Like that character's there's no way they would permanently kill that character off.
Oh, I know. I was told after the theater I was walking out, B Wood had to, dude, he's not dead. I was like, because they know. If anybody's listening, I don't look up shit.
Right.
I live in a world that's fun and exciting for me because I don't ruin myself with spoilers left and right. And I do consider that a level of ruination.
Yeah.
Let me get you the difference. You heard this at the beginning. Talking about IMAX, 0 fucks given by Bob. Where I sit in a theater, 0 fucks given by Bob. Why? I can still see the screen and I can still hear the sound, and it's always loud and the screen's always big. Whether my head has to turn 2 degrees to watch it better, or I have to lean back a little bit, another 2 degrees to watch it, doesn't bother me. I'm not taking away from everyone else, but I found this.
Mm-hmm.
Ignorance is bliss. Because that's when you hit it, you get raw, genuine Jimmy response.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's just a good thing.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's I appreciate that insight into that. But I have to, and again, I don't know shit, right? I'm just making wild speculations based on like just what I know about comic books in the industry, but like they're not going to kill off Spider-Man.
No. They just got him.
Right. We know beyond the shadow of a doubt from a business perspective. Now, would it be the most gangster shit to do? Like, yeah, it would be the most gangster shit you could do, right?
I would, if they kept Black Panther dead and the best Spider-Man ever played dead, I would, I'd make it a point that every time they came out with something to buy 2.
Right, you'd be pissed. I would be pissed, but I would be like, that Disney has just said, oh, we gangster. We don't give a fuck. We don't give a
roll hard in this motherfucker.
Right.
They literally said what's really hood, bitch. And
Yeah. You all wanted to know if Bucky was going to be Captain America after we killed off Captain America. Nah, bitch, we're killing off Bucky.
Oh, you thought we was funny at Disney?
Right,
Oh, you thought it was all kid
right.
games and ducks? Nah, we the mouse, bitch.
Right. You thought we were playing around? Nah. Remember them Guardians of the Galaxy? Remember how we told you they were throwaway characters? That's on you for getting attached. They fucking
You like
dead.
that cheese? You like that cheese you eating? It tasty? You want some more? You let me know. You come to the mouse. That's what they doing.
Disney shit looked at Marvel and expands and went, grab my pocket.
Right.
But it's if they do it. We know they're held hostage at this point to see what's going on. But we also know, joking aside, business sense. There's no
Right.
Yeah. Too much money to be made.
I sent a picture about Corvus, right? I want to tell you my one stickler point.
Right.
And all the costuming. Like, everyone made fun of Thanos' costuming because I think 90% of the people had no clue what Thanos actually looked like. He looked great.
Right. It looked perfect.
He looked great.
Perfect to the comic book.
It's fucking Thanos, right? Did a good job. I think the actor who played Thanos is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Brolin's awesome. He's awesome in everything he does.
Fantastic. But Corvus, I looked at that dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's a dark elf running around with Thanos. Like, he's the evil Halloween. Where did I see this before? And it dawned on me. To me, this character was pulled from Stephen King's Cat's Eye.
Where he sucked the fucking life out of people.
Yeah, the evil little troll with the tickling nose. Absolutely. Like, I can't find a still of Corvus where it shows him standing there with a sinister look on his face. I promise you, it's so similar to the thing from Cat's Eye. Beautiful costuming either way, but I was like, they killed that dude with a cat.
Right.
And the whole time I'm seeing him be like, Now, granted, he wasn't as much of a hardest as he could have been in the film. He was a great villain, but yeah, I just want to point that out a footnote. And if you get a chance to look at it, Nate, I'm sure I gave that to you so you could do what you will. But
that's funny. So on the subject of the Henchmen, I feel like they would have been cooler in a lot of ways if we had been introduced to them before this movie. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like we didn't get a lot of buildup, and of course they're not gonna win, right? And for all intents and purposes, those villains that have been following around Thanos, they get smoked in this movie. They serve their purpose, but we could have been a lot more frightened of them had they been smoking bitches since back in the day, right? If in the first Avengers we at least saw them around Thanos, we didn't. So it's like he picked them up along the way, and now we find out they've been serving Lord Thanos for hundreds of years, and I've never failed. But we never saw it.
But every time you've seen Thanos, they haven't been around, and you've seen Thanos in multiple movies.
Right.
This is the first movie we've seen them.
Right.
But now knowing about them a little more, I mean, in terms of, I looked up, it bothered me, I don't remember Thanos' origin. I looked at it, I was like, I know he's not a Celestial, right? That's not that. The alien Celestials, Utah the Watcher, and crap like that.
Right.
Thanos is an Eternal, is what he is, and he's an experiment. The human beings came from that experiment, is kind of what they're hinting at. Is a product of it. And they were designed, the Eternals, to be defenders of Earth, is what it comes from, which is what Thanos is. He's an Eternal, but he also is a substitute from he's like a deviant, which is like the antithesis, I believe. I may have that wrong. I'm pretty sure I do. Of the Eternals.
Right.
But on that planet, they're all about science and improving themselves to be what you saw, which is superhuman strength, durability, all that fun stuff that Thanos is at base. But they're designed to be, it feels like a planet where Superman can make himself. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what it reads to me. Like, it was a counterpoint to it. But they added a rich history that you had to kind of get from the comic. But I cheated, right? I looked that up a little bit and I remembered that. So, but the point is that adds more depth to the Thanos character. And after seeing that, I now want to see it again to see just how much of it they added. And granted, in his story, he tells a little bit about it. But if you're wondering what's the significance of Titan, it's because that's where the badasses live.
Right.
That's just that simple.
Yeah. So let's get a little bit of summary. We'll start with you, Jeff. Summarize for me what you thought of this movie. Like it, didn't like it. Give it a vague grade.
I loved it. I'll give it an A+, and it's going to be a hard movie to beat. because it literally was almost like a perfect culmination of all the characters coming together in a final movie to fight the badass. Now we all know it's not the final movie. We know there's going to be one more, and then from there it'll mold and change how it will. But up to this point, it is the best movie, bar none. I think like they're all up there, but this one tops them.
All right, Bob, what do you think?
A pluses are hard. I'm gonna agree with Jeff that it definitely is an A. He's in a plus or minus category. The only reason why I'm giving it a minus is because the Hulk looked like a bitch.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I never agree with that. I'm not going to ever agree with that.
No.
It just doesn't hold up. But they did include a point in it that I can digest with it. It proves that Banner and Hulk were fighting, that they're having issues of control, and that truth is there. And Hulk didn't consider it a threat to himself to come out and do anything about it. He got beat. Who knows what he was going through at that point? And that's that. I think it's a good thing they put a tantrum in it. I've said that already.
Right.
But to other points, what won me over even more, note this: when Earth is about to be destroyed, Africa is where it holds it down. I'm just saying that's where your last battle is going to happen.
Right.
And we knew it. We always knew it in our hearts. We knew it. But that's the one place y'all safe. Just saying. But who didn't like? I'm just adding why the A is there, leaning to a plus. Is the fact that when Thanos throws a motherfucking moon, okay, that shit happened on screen, wasn't cheesy, know-how done, amazing.
Right. Well,
you can't take away from it.
No, absolutely. All right.
And so that's where my leaning to plus is.
All right. So my opinion of the movie, I think that this movie was the most comic book movie I've ever seen. It was, to me, it was very much like watching a comic book as a movie. And do I think it was the best movie based off of a comic book? No, I don't think that. But I think it was the most comic book movie. Like, it created, when we left, I said to Rachel, I said, man, that movie should have came with 5 alternate foil covers. So I definitely give it an A. A couple of things that I was annoyed by. There were a few occasions where the CG was just a little hinky to me. For the most part, it was seamless, but there were certain scenes where I was like, they probably could have spent a little bit more time on that. I don't think it was as good as like Thor Ragnarok was. Like the Hulk and Thor Ragnarok, it completely tricked my brain, right? Hulk became his own character. With this movie, there were scenes where the CG was impeccable. It was perfect. And then just a few short moments later, it was like kind of goopy, where it was like, it doesn't quite match the movement of the human body. And it was like fucking with me a little bit.
I'm actually impressed. You note that.
The only reason
I have no eye for it. I have no idea how you do it. It's pretty good.
The reason why it kind of fucked with me was because this was a movie that benefited from $300 million worth of Disney money. And there were scenes where it was like, oh my God, like you said, he just grabbed a moon and threw it, right? And if you get stuff like that down perfectly, when you have like little transitional scenes where you're like, oh man, he's a little rubbery, he's not quite moving like a person, like those were things that just small detractors, right? But what are you going to do? There's a scene in it where someone gets a fucking moon thrown at them. Right. So, right. You can't like to me, we're kind of entering a new transitional period of like almost entirely CG acting. There were some scenes where like, the female villain with the horns and the blue line across her face, where like the motion capture was a little iffy for me. So these are nitpicks, okay. Right? Where I was kind of like, oh man, I kind of am picking up that's not real. But that's because everything else in the movie looks so fucking perfect. And it was, like I said, it was telling a story that I'm familiar with from childhood. And I've been waiting since I was a child to see these types of stories play out in front of me on a big screen. So I think that they did an amazing job. I think that I'm very excited because there was no stopping. Once it ended, all I wanted to do was see the next movie. That was it. If they had been like, and now here's movie 2, I'd have been like, here's my ticket. I want to see that one. I want to know how this ends because I don't know, you know, we know who's there, but we don't know who's going to come back. We don't know how this is going to shake up this whole universe. And for as dark as this movie was, it stayed fundamentally grounded in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the sense that it was still humorous. It was still lighthearted in the places where it needed to be. And Marvel knows how to do dialogue between their characters super well. That's why this movie is amazing, and it is 100 times better than anything DC has ever done or will be able to do.
And
Oh, I found out something too. Real quick, Bob. Sorry. Infinity Wars beat the Justice League movie for all the Justice League movies run just in the opening weekend.
Well, I saw what the nightmare of the Justice League looked like in the preview, and I was not, nothing drew me to want to see that.
It was all right. Justice League was all right. Wasn't great.
I saw Justice League, and I don't know. I think for me, I'm incredibly biased when it comes to DC. I only like the Joker out of the entire thing. It's the only thing that got me even interested in remotely in watching DC. So that's that. However, what has changed me is their new Superman. I like watching.
Henry Cavill.
Wonder Woman is fantastic. I think she just needs to change that W on her head to an M and switch to Marvel so they can make it even better. I think that would be a better take. But that's it, though. I mean, beyond that, Batman is played out. So played out. He needs to learn to take a bow like Wolverine. Maybe dance somewhere for a little bit. You've been there. You've been done. Goodbye. And I'm not saying even bring out Nightwing because it's a worse version of Batman. Let's not do that. But I digress. What I wanted to say, I remembered it. I had to do that. Thanos wins. That's what I like about this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Thanos won. And I have finally one movie in the Marvel world that backs up what I've said about Marvel the whole time. They're not afraid to let a bad guy win.
Right.
They're not afraid to have that out there. They ain't going to lose nobody by doing it. And it's right there, and I enjoy that. It's that level of real.
Right.
That you for as real as a comic can be. It's a level of you never know. Keep you guessing.
Right.
And we all know why, Nate, by the way, you said this can't be the best comic book film. But it is a damn good one. And it's because of March 18th or May 18th. Wow. 7 days.
Maybe on a different podcast we'll talk about my apprehensions about the movie. However, Josh Brolin again gets to play Cable and looks awesome and looks to be about the best thing about that movie. I really hope.
I'm excited. I'm excited about the movie.
I am cautiously apprehensive. I have to see it. I have to. Like, my nerd card depends on it. But I feel like for as good as the first one was, I don't know if they can live up to what we saw in that first movie.
I know they can, especially when I saw the preview in the theater. Did you see the Deadpool 2 preview?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I utterly enjoy the fact that they make fun of DC in it.
Yeah, I do too, but also
it's good. Well, not just because of that, because it's cheeky. It's breaking the fourth wall. It's funny. It's good.
It's part of my concern. I'm just hoping that they didn't all the best parts of the movie are put into the preview, because if that's the case, I don't know. I've got my fingers crossed. I hope that Deadpool 2 is as good as Deadpool 1.
I'm stunned. You have no hope for your film.
No. That's not what I said. I didn't say I have no hope. I have hope. I'm cautiously. When a director leaves,
supposed to carry the flag. If you go carry the flag, who gonna?
No, that's why I have to go see it. Right, I'm going to go see it because it's my character. But I just, when a movie gets pushed back, when a director leaves, these are not good signs. And over time you learn to understand signs of. And I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I don't know shit. It could be the best fucking 10 times better than the first Deadpool. I'm just hoping. Right.
For me, it kept the same actor for Deadpool.
Right. That's
the only guy who could play it, and that's why it's good.
That's why that's where my optimism is, and but then when I saw Shatterstar, I was kind of like, it looks a little cheesy.
I love Shatterstar when I saw it too, but I also did this. I treated Shatterstar the same way I did when I read about him in the comics.
You have to.
I don't care.
Right. You have to look and think of that character in the context of where he came from and who he is. That's just a cheesy character. That's literally just a character that's a product of the 90s. His only job is he kicks a lot of ass super good. Right?
With swords.
His mutant power is he can beat you up better than you. Like, it's silly. So, yeah, anyways, I guess probably that's next week. So our next Nerd Words podcast might be on Deadpool. And I may be here eating crow or eating my own words or regurgitating my cautious optimism. So
Keep the faith. All
yeah.
right.
Anyways, we hope that you enjoyed the podcast and enjoyed the movie. If you disagree with us, if you have other opinions, please do not share spoilers on our website or the possible YouTube video that we'll be posting this to. Just send us a message and tell us, and we'll dispute you or we'll agree with you. And anyways, until next week, I'm Nathan.
And I'm Bob.
And
I'm Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And someday that will be less awkward.